Thousands of geniuses live and die without being discovered, either by themselves or by others. Mark Twain. Because this world is not lacking in talent, what is rare are those souls with enough opportunity, enough belief, and enough courage to bring that talent into the light. There are countless people carrying extraordinary potential who live their entire lives in silence, like stars submerged at the bottom of the ocean, existing, radiant, yet seen by no one. The greatest tragedy is not failure, but living without ever discovering who you could truly become. Many walk through life with minds shackled by fear, by judgment, and by environments that lead them to believe they are ordinary and insignificant. A child who once loved to paint might abandon the brush just because they were mocked. A soul full of ideas might learn to keep silent because no one was listening. Over time, dreams that were never nurtured die out like a flame deprived of oxygen. And the most heartbreaking thing is that sometimes people themselves do not even know such a beautiful potential once existed within them. Society often only recognizes the geniuses who have already been seen. People praise the mountain peaks while forgetting the countless seeds that never had the chance to sprout from the earth. Not everyone who is talented is born into conditions that allow them to flourish. There are great minds struggling with poverty. There are creative souls buried under the responsibility of making a living. There are people who spend their entire youth living up to the expectations of others, to the point of losing their own true voice. The terrifying truth is that many die without ever once trying to touch their true limits. They live as shadows of their potential, not because they aren't good enough, but because they were made to believe they couldn't. Diminishing oneself when people confine themselves to a safe version to avoid failure or rejection. But that very safety silently kills the greatest potential within them. An undiscovered genius is like a piece of music that has never been played. The world does not hear it. But what is sadder is that the person possessing that music has never even known how beautiful its sound could be. There are people with the capacity to heal others who live their whole lives in self-doubt. There are those with the mindset to change the world but who die in self-doubt. And sometimes, what stops a person is not a lack of talent, but a lack of belief that their light is worth existing. Within every person, there is a part of their potential sleeping. And perhaps the greatest responsibility of a human life is not to become famous or admired, but to dare to discover who you truly are before time closes the door on your life. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Albert Einstein. We crave a change in life, yet we cling tightly to the old habits that created the very reality we are tired of. People often pray for a different future while every day they think the same, act the same, and fear the same. And then they are surprised when life keeps repeating the same painful cycle. The most terrifying aspect of repetition does not lie in the action, but in the unconsciousness. Many people live as shadows of yesterday. They love in ways that once hurt them, choose familiar things even while knowing they are toxic, and react to life with old patterns without ever questioning if they are still true. It is like a person wandering in a maze, always turning the same way, then wondering why they cannot find the exit. Humans have a tendency to be addicted to the familiar, even when that familiarity is painful, because the old creates a sense of safety. A toxic relationship is still more comfortable than the unknown of loneliness. A job that drains your soul is still more comfortable than the fear of starting over. Thus, many people would rather live in a familiar hell than step into a paradise they do not yet understand. And it is that fear of change that keeps them stuck in the life they always complain about. People want new results, but do not want to become a new version of themselves. They want peace, but will not let go of resentment. They want success, but will not change their discipline. They want to be loved, but still harbor behavior that hurts others. Results do not appear as if by magic. They are the shadow of the actions repeated every day. If you continue to sow the same seeds, you cannot be angry when life grows the same type of plant. True change always begins with the courage to look straight at oneself. Not everyone has the courage to admit that sometimes the things holding them back are not circumstances, but old patterns in thought and action. Because change means stepping out of the comfort zone of the ego. It requires people to break down the beliefs that once made them feel safe, even though they are the very things limiting their lives. But it is also there that freedom begins. The moment a person dares to change how they think, how they react, and how they live, they begin to break the old cycle of their life. A small decision today can open up a completely different future. Like a river that only changes course when the source changes, a person's life only changes when their inner self changes first. The greatest insanity is not failing many times. It is repeating the same old version of oneself and hoping the fate will naturally be different. I've failed over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. Michael Jordan. There are people who only see failure as a dead end, but there are also those who see it as the furnace of fate. Success is not born in the sound of applause. It is born in long nights of self-doubt, in the feeling of helplessness when everything collapses, and in the moment a person must choose between giving up or standing up one more time. Failure is like hammer blows upon a rough piece of metal. Each blow is painful, each leaves a crack, but that is exactly what creates the shape of a sharp sword. Those who have never failed often live in the safe cage of the ego. They fear being wrong, fear losing face, fear being rejected. But those who have stumbled many times understand a profound truth. No failure is strong enough to destroy a person, except when they give up on themselves. People often think success is the result of talent. Extraordinary people show the opposite. What makes them different is not that they suffer less, but that they have the capacity to endure suffering longer than others. They view failure as data, not a verdict. Each mistake is a chance to peel back another layer of self-delusion. Each time they are knocked down by life is a chance to learn how to stand firmly on their own 2 feet. There are seeds that must be buried in darkness before they sprout. There are people who must go through the feeling of being broken before understanding where their true strength lies. People often only see the final moment of victory, but they do not see the thousands of times that person silently failed in solitude. No one climbs to the peak without trembling feet. The most beautiful thing about failure is that it forces a person to shed their arrogance. It makes us realize that life owes us nothing. And in that harsh truth, people learn perseverance, humility, and courage. Success is not about never falling. Success is someone who, after countless falls, still has the will to keep walking. Sometimes the most powerful thing a person can say is not, "I have never failed," but "I have failed many times, but I'm still here." The mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven. John Milton. Life is not entirely determined by external circumstances, but by how the mind interprets those circumstances. 2 people walk in the same rain. One feels cold and miserable, the other feels a sense of peace. The rain hasn't changed, only their inner worlds are different. When the mind is full of fear, the whole world becomes a battlefield. A small word can become a knife wound. A small failure is enough to make a person think they are useless. But when the inner self is strong enough, even adversity becomes fuel. Seeing difficulties as exercises of fate, seeing suffering as a process of refining oneself. Because of this, there are people living in abundance but with barren souls, and there are people walking through storms with eyes still full of light. The most terrifying thing is not the hell outside, but the hell constructed within our thoughts. A mind imprisoned by negativity can turn every opportunity into a risk, every love into suspicion, and every hope into despair. It is like a locked room without windows. The longer they stay, the more they forget that light ever existed. Many are not really defeated by life. They are eroded day by day by the voice inside their heads. Repeated thoughts of helplessness, fear, and failure silently drain their life energy. But that same mind, when trained, has the power to create heaven amidst imperfections. A person who knows how to control their thoughts will not easily fall before misfortune. Happiness is not owning everything, but the ability to find meaning in what one already has. Like a small flame in the winter night, a positive thought is sometimes enough to warm a freezing soul. People often try to change the world before learning how to change the way they see the world. But true peace does not begin from the outside. It begins the moment we realize that the mind is the most powerful creator of reality. When the inner world is chaotic, even paradise feels suffocating. But when the soul is bright enough, even in the darkness, people still find their way. If the only prayer you said in your whole life was, "Thank you," that would suffice. Meister Eckhart. When a person truly knows how to say thank you to life, they have stepped out of the shadow of scarcity to touch the wealth within themselves. There are those who possess a lot, but whose hearts are always barren because they only look at what they lack. But there are also people who, even while passing through storms, keep the light in their eyes because they understand that just being alive, breathing, and experiencing this world is a gift. Gratitude is like sunlight shining into the mind. It does not change circumstances immediately, but it changes how a person views those circumstances. A grateful person will see lessons in suffering, strength in adversity, and hope even in the darkest days. Meanwhile, a mind that only complains will turn life into a leaking cup. No matter how much you pour into it, it will never feel full. People often only realize the value of what they have after they have lost it. We rush after distant peaks, forgetting that there are so many people out there begging to live the life we consider ordinary. Thank you is essentially a state of awakening. It is the moment a person stops fighting reality and begins to harmonize with it. Not because life is perfect, but because they understand that perfection was never a condition for peace. A simple meal, someone still by your side, waking up in the morning with a beating heart, those seemingly small things are the foundation of happiness. But people are so busy looking at the sky that they forget the flower blooming under their feet. A grateful person lives lighter. They are not consumed by envy, not burned by endless greed. They understand that life owes them nothing, so every good thing that comes is a grace. Because of this, gratitude does not make people weak, it makes them stronger. Because when the heart knows how to bow before simple things, the soul becomes wider than any loss. Finally, the most beautiful prayer does not lie in long words or complex rituals. Sometimes, just one thank you spoken from the bottom of the heart is enough to make a person's soul peaceful. Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. Plato. We pass by each other every day with polite smiles and short greetings, but no one really knows what the other person is carrying inside. There are people who look strong but are exhausted inside. There are people who laugh a lot just to hide a sense of emptiness. And there are souls who must fight battles every day that no one sees. People often judge each other by their surface behavior, forgetting that every reaction has a story behind it. A hot-tempered person may be living under crushing pressure for too long. A cold person may have been hurt so much that they no longer dare to open up. A silent person sometimes is not because they are arrogant, but because they are trying to keep themselves from falling apart. Like icebergs, most of a person's pain lies below the surface, invisible yet heavy. Everyone carries their own wounds. A gentle word can sometimes save someone from a dark day. A compassionate look can be the only thing that makes someone feel seen in this cold world. We often underestimate the power of small things, while sometimes they are the very things keeping someone existing. The sad thing is that the modern world makes people increasingly hurried. Everyone is busy protecting their ego, busy proving they are right, busy chasing success, to the point of forgetting that kindness is what truly connects people. A harsh word can stay in someone's mind for years, but an act of kindness can also heal deep-seated wounds that no one else has touched. Kindness does not mean you have to save the whole world. Sometimes it is just knowing how to listen without judging, knowing how to stay silent instead of causing harm, knowing how to be patient with those struggling with themselves. Because the truth is, everyone is fighting, it's just that some people are very good at hiding that battle. The most beautiful thing people can give each other in this high-pressure world is not perfection, but kindness. Because sometimes, amidst thousands of life's difficulties, what saves a person is not a miracle, but just someone treating them kindly at the right time. Do not let your wounds turn you into someone you are not. Paulo Coelho. The most dangerous part of a wound is not the moment it occurs, but how it stays in the mind long afterward. Pain has the ability to change the way a person looks at life. It makes those who were once gentle become cold, those who trusted become suspicious, and those who gave their all begin to build invisible walls around their hearts. People, when wounded, often learn how to survive before they learn how to heal. They start hiding their emotions, wary of every relationship, and wear a psychological armor through life. At first, that armor is just to protect themselves from being hurt again. But over time, it also blocks out love, sincerity, and the ability to connect with the world. The tragedy is that many people do not realize that while trying not to let anyone hurt them, they are also losing the best version of themselves. Emotional wounds are like a drop of ink falling into water. If not careful, it spreads and dyes everything. One betrayal makes us doubt everyone. One failure makes us afraid to start again. One belittlement makes us spend our whole lives proving our worth. And then, there are people who no longer live as their true selves, they live as reactions to old wounds. The ability to keep one's true nature after being broken. Because life always has the risk of turning people into what they once hated most. Someone who was treated coldly easily becomes cold to others. Someone who suffered easily unconsciously takes that pain and hurts those around them. That is how pain spreads from soul to soul like a smoldering fire. Thus, healing is not just forgetting the past. Healing is refusing to let the past decide who we become. It is when a person, even after passing through disappointment, chooses to trust, even after being hurt, chooses to be gentle, even after falling, chooses to love life once again. That does not make them weak. On the contrary, that is the rarest form of strength, the strength of a soul that does not let the darkness define it. Because ultimately, a wound is what life causes, but who we become after the wound is a choice. And sometimes, the greatest victory is not revenge or proving something to the world, but keeping your heart intact amidst a world that has once hurt it. Every thought of mine has the power to hurt or to heal. I will use my thoughts wisely and respect the power of them. Deepak Chopra. Before the outside world shapes our fate, the inner world has already silently created that reality. Every emotion, action, and choice begins with a small thought. A negative thought repeated over and over can become a mental prison, while a correct thought is sometimes enough to save a person from their own darkness. The mind is like a fertile garden. If you sow fear, resentment, and self-doubt, weeds will grow to cover the soul. But if you sow peace, gratitude, and faith, the soul will bloom very naturally. The danger is that many live their whole lives without realizing they are speaking to themselves with the cruelest words. They call themselves failures after one stumble. They condemn themselves just because they haven't achieved what they want. And then, those thoughts silently become the truth, because the human mind tends to believe what it hears repeated most often. There is an invisible war happening every day in everyone's head. It is the war between the voice pulling us down and the voice urging us to stand up. A negative thought is like a drop of black ink falling into a glass of clear water. If not controlled, it will spread and darken everything. Just one despairing thought, and the whole world becomes heavy. But sometimes, just one hopeful thought, and people find the strength to walk through days they thought were impossible to overcome. What we think about ourselves will gradually become the life we live every day. If you continuously nurture anger, the soul will become as sharp as a blade, always ready to hurt others. But if you nurture tolerance and calmness, the inner world will become a peaceful sanctuary even amidst the storms of life. Using thoughts wisely does not mean denying suffering or forcing yourself to be cheerful at all times. It is the awareness that every thought is a seed, and you must be careful with what you sow in your mind, because sooner or later it will grow into your life. A person who controls their thoughts will not easily be controlled by circumstances. They understand that true power does not lie in controlling the outside world, but in mastering the inner one. The mind can be the deepest healing medicine, but it can also be the most dangerous wound. And how you think today is silently building the person you will become tomorrow. Before you speak, ask yourself, is what you are about to say kind? Is it necessary? Is it true? Would it be better than silence? People often underestimate the power of words because they are invisible. A wound on the skin will heal, but there are harsh words that can stay in someone's mind for many years. Just one slighting comment is enough to make a child grow up feeling worthless. Just one betrayal is enough to make a heart lose faith in love. The scary thing is that words once spoken are like arrows leaving the bow. They cannot be taken back. Many people spend their whole lives apologizing for a few minutes of not being able to control their mouths. The first question, is it kind, is a mirror reflecting the depth of one's character. Kindness in speech does not mean being fake or weak. It is the ability to understand that everyone is fighting invisible battles. A gentle word can sometimes save someone from a dark day. Meanwhile, toxic words often stem from unhealed souls. A truly strong person doesn't need to use words to make others feel small. But kindness alone is not enough. Is it necessary? Is a question for emotional maturity. Not every thought needs to be spoken. Many confuse frankness with dumping all their emotions onto others. There are words spoken only to satisfy a fleeting ego that create lasting damage. Silence is sometimes not a sign of weakness, but of a mind alert enough to know what is worth saying and what should stop in one's own head. Is it true? Is the test of conscience. Rumors, judgment, and distortion of truth are like toxic smoke in the air. The speaker may forget quickly, but the listener sometimes has to live with the consequences for a very long time. A dishonest word not only hurts others, but also silently makes the speaker's character rot from within. Because each time we betray the truth, we are also betraying ourselves. The most important question: would it be better than silence? There are moments when silence holds more compassion than thousands of words. Silence to listen, silence to not let anger turn into wounds, silence to understand instead of reacting. Wise people do not talk a lot to prove their intelligence. They speak at the right time, the right thing, and in the right way. Words are the shadow of the soul. A peaceful mind will create healing words. An angry heart will create words that hurt. And sometimes, the true maturity of a person does not lie in how much they know how to say, but in knowing when to stay silent. Facts do not cease to exist because they are ignored. People can close their eyes, turn their backs, and distract themselves with countless noises and excuses, but the truth remains, like the shadow of the sun, it doesn't need to be believed to be true. The danger is not the painful truth, but living too long in illusions that offer temporary comfort. Many spend their whole lives running from the truth about themselves. They mask fear with arrogance, hide hurt with coldness, and use busyness to escape the feeling of emptiness inside. But the human mind is like a closed room. What is pushed to the bottom doesn't disappear. It just grows silently in the dark. A pain not faced will become bitterness. A truth denied will become a mental burden that drags a person down with fatigue for many years. The truth is often hard to accept because it destroys the beautiful stories the ego wants to believe. No one wants to admit they are wrong. No one wants to face the fact that a relationship has changed, a dream has shattered, or that they are not as happy as they try to appear. So, people choose to procrastinate. They are like people living in a burning house who close the curtains just because they don't want to see the smoke. But the fire does not disappear because of the silence. The more one denies, the more energy one has to spend maintaining that mask. They become easily irritated, defensive, and ready to blame others because deep down, they know something is wrong. The truth is like water, no matter how long you try to push it down, it will eventually find its way to the surface. It is the truth, however painful, that is the first door leading to freedom. Only by accepting the truth can one heal. Only by daring to look straight at the wound do we know how to bandage it. A person who admits they are weak has a chance to become strong. A person who accepts they are lost can find the right path again. Truth may hurt the ego, but it liberates the soul. The truth doesn't need approval to exist. It is still there, silent, patient, and cannot be erased by being ignored. And sometimes, the moment that changes a person's life is when they stop running, turn back, and face the truth, painful but real.